to the FilmGamer Podcast, Season 5, Episode 13, after the winter break, number 63 overall. After this, we are diving into Season 6. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing. Today we'll get into box office report, letterbox diary. It's been a while, so I'll be sure to check out what I've seen since then, which is about the end of December. And after I get into that and do the box office, I'll do some Oscar talk, and let's just get right into it now. So the last time we all spoke, it was December 15th, so it was a little over a month ago. Uh, so if I can go into my letterbox and just kind of bounce right into it, or first what I'll do is I'll do the box office game. So it's not so much a game, it's just a relay. Number one at the box office this weekend was Avatar Fire and Ash, which, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, has gotten the worst reviews of the series, which has been critically acclaimed. This was my most anticipated movie of 2025. And the annoying thing is that the reviews for it aren't great. It's at 66% overall, popcorn meter 90%. It says, remaining on the cutting edge of visual effects, Fire and Ash repeats the narrative beats of its predecessors to frustrating effect. But its grand spectacle continues to stoke one-of-a-kind thrills in the audience as an immersive, mesmerizing visual experience and a long-awaited return to Pandora, only 3 years, really. Avatar Fire and Ash reaffirms James Cameron's status as a contemporary visionary. Yes, he is. Um, Now, the reason that I haven't gone out to see Avatar is because it is very long, and on the last one, because I usually don't mind, I saw The Brutalist even in theaters, is I really felt the length of 3 hours and 12 minutes, and this one was split up as basically Avatar 2 was cut into two films, which became The Way of Water and Fire and Ash. And this is the second half of it, but people say there's not really a big denouement closing up of like a trilogy. That would be maybe more Avatar 4. But because of that and really feeling the length on the last one, I wasn't super excited to go see this one, even though I thought Avatar 2 was fine. It was just ended in sort of a mediocre way. So it's doing well. How well? Well, not as well as the previous ones. It's still making 1.3 billion worldwide. I'm sure it'll get to a billion, no problem. It is number one in its fifth weekend. So it's interesting because it's sort of like a Rise of Skywalker scenario where, yes, it's playing very well, but, like similar to Jurassic World Dominion, it's down from its predecessor, but it's down at a consistent uh, uh, clip, which is still, in James Cameron's words, a metric F ton of money. Um, and the reason why he's going to consider stopping with the Avatar movies is because he said they're just too expensive to make. Now, that could be just the way that he makes them. You can watch the Disney documentary on that, where they basically they do the performance after, and there's a lot of editing involved, where you know, they'll basically fill up a water tank, and then they film cameras on top, 3D cameras on top, infrared on the bottom. But then they have to organize them so that one cannot cross beam the other, and a bunch of other stuff. And then they have the people in mocap suits and like nothing else, just mocap suits, no finished CGI effects. And they have them work and act on that with like nothing. So it's still very impressive. It's just I wish the story was more impressive was the thing. Um, so this total is like 1.3 billion. I estimate that it would get to about 1.7, which is down from the last one, because the first one was like 2.9, and then the second one was 2.2. So I figured this one would be 2.7. If I can do that math correctly and account for the standard deviations, let's see here. So the first one was 2.9, yeah, and then the second one was 2.2, 2.3. Okay, so it's down 6. So I thought this was 1.7. So we'll see how it goes. Um, the other thing was, well, I'll get to it later. My first movie of 2026, 28 years later, The Bone Temple. The review is up on FilmGamer.com. This came in way under expectations. It was expected to do about 20 million. The last one did 30 million in the middle of summer. Now, granted, it is just it's 28 weeks later since, or 30 weeks actually, since the last one came in theaters. Um, but the last one, which was my favorite movie of 2025, at least until, I see all the others, was divisive. And so people weren't super excited for this one. Interestingly, horror movies at exit polling famously have bad reviews. C plus is like, on the good end. This one got an A minus. 28 years later, The Bone Temple is a very straightforward, very horror conventional film. There's a lot of queasy moments. The plot is very simple to follow. Um, I wasn't super impressed with it. My brother was his favorite of the franchise, and it kind of speed runs creationism, in his words. I didn't, I don't pick up on subtext like that, so it wasn't like super impressive to me. But I thought it was a big build up to meaning, and I wanted more characterization. And I thought that there was a lot more leaning on plotting, but less interesting plotting. Number three is Zootopia 2, which is the number one movie of the year at 1.7 billion, the number Avatar is supposed to get to, but we'll see how it gets to it. My other sets of nephews went and saw that close to Christmas, which was nice. Number four is The Housemaid, which crossed $100 million. Nice little hit for Lionsgate. They needed that. And 177 worldwide. People talk about the kind of domestic thriller, which is pretty cheap to make, kind of being out of fashion, and people like forgot, hey, if we adapt this hit book, money printing machine. But yeah, it's kind of funny how they forgot about these dramas for adults, and Hollywood just forgets about that, like they forget about the rom-com from time to time. There's a number of neglected genres. I wouldn't say the Western was ever like a hit genre, but that's another one that's been neglected. So we'll have to see like when is the next like major non-niche Western, because The Housemaid is straight down the middle studio filmmaking. Um, and it's by Paul Feig, who came off the worst movie of 2025, which was Another Simple Favor. So it's a nice little redemption act for him. The reviews for it are good. I won't get into it, but yeah. And then at number five is Marty Supreme, movie that my family saw. I couldn't because I was working, so my seat was left open, whatever. So $60 in tickets goes toward Marty Supreme. The movie that I've spent the most amount of money on this year is one I haven't even seen. How funny is that? Yeah, this movie is at 79 million domestically. It is now A24's highest grossing film that they've ever made. Internationally, it's not a lot. They're not great at international distribution. And they're not the best at domestic distribution, although it is impressive Oscars wise that they were able to keep. I mean, I know they tuned out for 4 months, but um, Everything Everywhere All at Once in theaters for like the full year round. It's just kind of, they want to build up, you know, uh, domestic box office and stuff, and they haven't had like $100 million hit. And it's just kind of weird. I think, they don't want to, when you're a big company and A24's valuation is extremely high, it's like 3 billion or something ridiculous like that, which is what HBO was valued at its peak, and that had subscriptions to back it up. Um, Anyways, A24, they seem to not want to expose their risk. So when they do movies, they never do like big, wide, splashy releases. Everything has to be mildly conservative in its approach. And, if you want to have a big hit, you have to be willing to take some misses. And I just find that 84 is a bit safe playing in their little niche field. But anyways, moving on. Primate. This was big, not a big hit, but was a decent sized hit last week. Um, it is just basically that scene in Nope where the primate goes loose, but like that's the whole movie. This is a Paramount film, and the person who directed it, I'm trying to think, because it was for, yeah, Johann Roberts, who made the last Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City, which I liked, and the 47 Meters Down movies, and The Strangers Pray at Night, which I really liked. He's pretty good. I remember seeing for previews, The Other Side of the Door, one I still haven't seen, but yeah, and nor have I seen 47 Meters Down Uncaged, but I think he's pretty decent. I think he's a pretty decent director. Um, Moving on, we have going down the list, Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. It's funny that this made like an additional 3 million because it's been out for so long, but it's like the fandom release, that kind of thing. Um, you know, makes about like 320 million. It's kind of crazy them having hit, but yeah, Bob Shea betting it all, uh, the future of New Line Cinema on that company was pretty genius. Them doing it for the Golden Compass, not so genius. But like, yeah, huge, fantastic hit that enshrined New Line forever. Now they're a division of Warner Brothers, which is now going to be a division of Netflix. Hopefully not. Hopefully that gets shunted, as does their Paramount's hostile takeover, which is just flailing left and right. Um, Number 8 is Greenland 2, which Lionsgate took in the US only. They didn't release it in Canada. I guess it's on Amazon Prime or something in Canada, or straight to premium, or who knows what. If I was at home, I'd be able to say, because this is my new place. You can't see it yet. It's not ready. Maybe I'll put a poster in the background or something like that. But yes, I'm in a new place and, beginning my life at 32. Um, Being independent, that kind of thing. Working to the bone. I don't work tomorrow, thankfully. 3 days in a row, 11-hour shifts, 11 and a half. I'll explain later, though. I'm a baggage handler. Number 9 is Anaconda, which when I went to see 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, some people came out of Anaconda, this group of kids, and the mother, and I asked her, "Did you like Anaconda?" And she's like, "The kids liked it." And I'm like, "That's the important thing," because the movie looked awful. But I'll watch it. 59 million domestic. This is a good example of why somebody like Tom Rothman is still in charge of Sony, and it's because it's like we can make a really crappy movie, but if it has like an idea behind it, at least. And in this case, the idea is taking the guy who made The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage, having him do that sort of thing with Nicolas Cage, but for Anaconda. Weird, I know, but Sony owns the rights to it. And doing that, even though that and a couple of their other stuff doesn't make a lot of sense, like doing another I Know What You Did Last Summer. um it How do I say, it's still profitable, but they're bad movies. So yeah, it's a question. um Moving on. Yeah, Anaconda's a hit. uh is it a good movie? Not at all. But, I haven't seen it, so who can say? Finally, SpongeBob: The Search for SquarePants. Now, I'd be disappointed with this if I were Paramount, because, like, even though it's making 144 worldwide, the first SpongeBob SquarePants movie made 80 million. Second one made well over 100, Sponge Out of Water. Different animation style. The third one came out during COVID, and this is the fourth one. But, like, it did release at Christmas. It did have a good release date. It has held decently. But yeah, I'd want more money squeezed out of this sponge, because I feel like SpongeBob can be like a really big, like, for its impact on culture, at least my generation's culture. Um, it's big, so I'm surprised it's not bigger, or they don't make it bigger, but it failed to capitalize. Speaking of which, just going through some other stuff because we have some catching up to do. Um, No Other Choice, number 11. This just did another expansion by Neon. This was the Midnight Madness, the international feature film winner at the Toronto Film Festival. I really wanted to see it. I asked one person to save my spot in line. They could not be bothered, so they are dead to me as a friend. Although I'll still be pleasant to them. You know, I'm a pleasant person. But yeah, I was so annoyed because they're like, oh, gee, I'm not sure if I can. And it's like, you've been asking me to save your spots all week in line at TIFF. And when I ask you to do this one thing that's way late in the day that anybody can you can't do it. Oh man. So yeah, annoyed about that. That I had no other choice but to not see No Other Choice. But it's doing decently internationally. It'll probably win international film. I don't know. You know, it could be it was just an accident. There's a lot of competition there. Sentimental value, hello. But yeah, we'll see. Or maybe all three get into Best Picture. That'd be cool. Song Sung Blue, this is from director Craig Brewer, who did Dolomite Is My Name, Coming to America, I think. And yeah, he's had an interesting career, especially since he, didn't do so well, dare I say. For some reason, I thought Craig Brewer was black because he did, um, Hustle and Flow. So I always thought that, and then Dolomite Is My Name. Uh, but no, he's a guy from a place called Newport News, Virginia, which is kind of like a cool place. Um, the population is bigger than my hometown, but a place named Newport News is kind of like an interesting. It's like an interesting thing. Um, Apparently, the original area near the mouth of the James River in Virginia was referred to as Newport News as early as 1621. Um, and it's unknown the exact origin of the source of the name. Um, Probably the best known explanation for it. I know this is a diatribe, divergence, whatever you want to say from the box office, but I'm just rolling with it. Um, the best known explanation holds that when an early group of Jamestown colonists left to return to England after the starving time during the winter of 1609-1610 aboard a ship of Captain Christopher Newport, they encountered another fleet of supply ships under the new governor Thomas West, the third Baron de la Warre, in the James River off Mulberry Island, with reinforcements of men and supplies. The new governor ordered them to turn around and return to Jamestown. Under this theory, the community was named Newport's Good News. Another possibility, though, is just that the community may have delivered its name from the English word news, meaning new town, at least one source claims to be the new arose from the original settlements being rebuilt after a fire. So it's like a new town in Newport because of ship trading, and it burned down. So long way to go for nothing. Okay, let's get back to it. So Craig Brewer's movie, Song Sung Blue. Um, 35 million, it's by Focus Features, so okay. 48 million worldwide. Aimed to rope in the older demo. Did okay at business at Christmas. They were hoping to turn into another like Greatest Showman. If I look at what, because you have no idea what the movie is about. It's about two Neil Diamond impersonators. One's Kate Hudson, one is Hugh Jackman, and it costs 30 million. And it's made 48, so it'll definitely make money. And the thing is about the movie business is that it wouldn't exist if it wasn't a good business. Most movies do make money. The thing is that can they last long enough, in the tail? It's just a matter of when. For example, I famously use, the horrible movie Gods of Egypt. That took like 8 years to become profitable. But it became profitable after 8 years because it's like Gerard Butler keeps having a career. People go back and watch his stuff. It appears on streaming, things like that. But a lot of movies, smaller movies, they disappear earlier. Gods of Egypt, made cost hundreds of, well, not hundreds, but it cost $100 million. I don't know how they um, spent that much money on a movie that looks like crap. But yeah, it cost 140 million, um, but and made 150 worldwide. So, anyways, neither here nor there. Getting back to it, Song Sung Blue, yeah, profitable. The reviews for it, I mean, if I go and look, it's one of those where it's like don't have a huge interest in it, especially ones that are like beat for beat remakes of documentaries, but yeah, this one's 78%, and fans really like it. Um, Bringing a sweet amount of dignity to the art of imitation, Song Sung Blue mostly avoids becoming a mere cover of the documentary on which it's based, thanks to huge jacked man, and Kate Hudson's heartfelt performances. And audiences say the same thing, that the performances are good, hits every emotional chord, wholesome, family friendly, fitting tribute to Neil Diamond. So, nice little thing there. Um, what else do we have to talk about at the box office? Not many things, eh? Um, David is doing well. I was on the bus and somebody was like, "Oh, we're going to see a movie," and she was like, "Oh, we're going to see David," and I thought that was sweet and wholesome because it's just from his mother's songs to his clash with Goliath, David's journey from humble shepherd to anointed king tests the limits of faith, courage, and love, culminating in a battle for the soul of the kingdom. I did not know King David from the Bible was David who slayed Goliath. Maybe that's like a mixture. I mean, I know it's a made up story, biblical, blah, 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 blah. But I just mean in terms of like, comic bookery. A lot of people don't know certain lines are from certain books or lines from movies or references or memes when you finally see it. A lot of people this week watched At Eternity's Gate and were like, oh, that's the one where, where it's the image of Willem Dafoe looking up like that really close, you know. Um, Powerful filmmaking. But yeah, that's from Angel Studios and did pretty well. 77 million, again, independent film. Number 14 is the movie I called a real snooze fest. Hamnet, which has made 14 million. It won Best Picture Drama at the Golden Globes. Made 27 million. It's an Oscar movie. Doesn't matter if it makes money. No, they'll spend a whole lot more money on it too to make sure that it wins like an Academy Award, because any amount of money that you spend, if you can get at least an Oscar, kind of like makes a movie eternal, because you have an Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences who are like chronicling this factually was the best that was in this category of this year. It makes some sort of sense. But anyways, number 15 is Dead Man's Wire, which is a first release from Roque Entertainment. Not a whole lot of money made. It is in wide release, which a lot of like new companies do. But yeah, if you watch the trailer, it's pretty good. It's about a man who sets up a dead man's wire. He was cheated by the system and, robs somebody by putting a shotgun um, on the end of their like neck or in their face. And if the man like dies, trips, falls, or whatever, the shotgun goes off, blows the guy's head off or something. It's by Gus Van Sant, who directed Good Will Hunting, and Elephant, which was a school shooting movie. Interesting, thoughtful filmmaker. Is this thing on as number 16? This movie, like, it's going wide now. It's Bradley Cooper's new film with Will Arnett, and it's about he gets a divorce from Laura Dern and kind of follows his way into stand-up, and it's just about him working through his demons. It's purposefully, a small film, so, it being understated and everything makes sense. And then, you have All You Need Is Kill, which is an anime version. I mean, they already made it with Edge of Tomorrow, and then Madagascar, for whatever reason, got re-released, probably because it's its 20th anniversary. I saw the original in theaters. I'm that old. Um, Searchlight has released The Testament of Anne Lee, which was a movie a lot of people liked. Some people hated at TIFF. I was kind of like, do I want to see this? I'm not a big risk taker. But week after week, it has done pretty well. And looking at the trailer, like, it seems more interesting to me than The Brutalist. And they say, well, because it's not directed by a man, it's not getting as much attention. And, I'm inclined to believe that, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's doing quite well. So maybe Seyfried can get or Seyfried can get a Best Actor nomination. We'll see. Wicked for Good, yeah, still hanging around there. How much did it do totally? Just over 500 million, so quite a bit less than the last one. But, I could have told you that because Wicked 2 was like, everybody says that the second half of the play is what sucks. And then, that. So we have 20 movies, 21 if you count Marty Supreme, that crossed over 100 million. And last year we had like 22. So this, for whatever reason, people seem to think that 2024 was not a good year for movies, but like 2025 was worse then. So I don't know, what the industry was thinking, but hopefully 2026 is better um, because, it's, hold on, this movie, A Private Life, that's not Jodie Foster, is it? Could be. This is at the bottom of the box office, is what I'm looking at. It is Jodie, and it's playing local cinema at the Bytown. Okay. French black comedy, written by somebody that I've never heard of. Matthew Almaric. Okay. A Private Life that's been used like 10 million times. Yeah, it premiered at Cannes. Okay. Positive reviews. Jodie Foster, of course. Yeah. This is there. In these categories in respective ceremonies. I could have sworn that Kristen Stewart got a Caesar nomination, but what do I know? Jodie's daughter in Panic Room. Let me see here. Kristen Stewart. I know it's ridiculous that I'm looking at this, but awards and nominations. Caesar Awards. Yeah. Clouds of Sils Maria, and she won. Oh, but that was supporting, that's why. Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So, yeah, critical reception. People like it, 76%. Hitchcockian suspense, glossy aesthetics, playful streak of camp, entertaining if somewhat slight mystery held together by Foster's performance. This all sounds good to me. Hey, hey, blah, blah, blah. Is it going to tell me what the thing is? No, I gotta look up the friggin' plot description. Maybe I should not know. I know it's a mystery crime. The renowned psychiatrist Lillian Steiner mounts a private investigation into the death of one of her patients whom she is convinced has been murdered. That sounds good to me. Maybe I'd watch it. Maybe I will. We'll see. Anyways, so that's the box office. Let me get into, oh, I just wanted to say, lastly, if I go to Euro box office and stuff, so this is at, am I doing calendar year? In-year releases, I always prefer to do that. So in 2019, they had 11.4 billion. And that was even down from 2018, which had 11.6, which had a lot of like Warner Brothers just wasting their shots of like cramming every single blockbuster they could into a year. People describe it as like that was the last year that happened where people would just kind of throw out as many, like it was quantity over quality. Now studios tend to put quality development into their releases, but you know, you don't always see that. But, yeah, that was 11.4 billion in 2019, and 2020 1.4, 21 4.8, 22 7.5, 23 8.8. And then we haven't reached that because it went down in 24, and then 25, which was an even weaker year, like did 8.5. So if this year doesn't get back to where we were at, I don't know what we're gonna do. So, moving on to my letter top order, going back to the 25th. Here's the thing, since moving, I have not watched a lot of movies because I have like a full-time job now. So, I mean, when I moved back I mean, not moved back, but when I visited home, I watched The Natural, The Boss Baby, One Battle After Another, and The Thing, and Punch Drunk Love. I watched that in one In 3 days. In the 3 days that I was home, I watched 5 movies. And, The Natural I watched for the first time, gave it 3 stars. And I said, um, why was this movie so long? Great music by Randy Newman and shots by Caleb Deschanel, Zoe and Emily's dad, believe it or not, and probably how they got in the industry. But disappointed giving its esteemed rewatchables reputation. That music and Breaking the Clocks and Lights and Joe Don Baker does give me chills. But yeah, the plot progression of this movie I didn't think was great. Yeah. Moving on, The Boss Baby. This was one where I missed the first few of this, but I think I got the gist. Cool concept, but like, are they aliens or something, these babies? It's weird seeing Jimmy Kimmel animated without a beard. I will admit, he's been bearded for so long, I forgot what he looks like without a beard, and then when I saw him, I'm like, that's Jimmy, all right, but it doesn't seem like him. But yeah, watched a few times, and my nephew enjoyed it, and that's all I needed. I gave it 3 stars. Best animated picture nomination out of that one too. Um, so I rewatched one battle after another again. I enjoyed it more on this watch. Easily one of the best films of the year and a shoe-in for Best Picture and Best Director, unless amazingly they gave it for like Sinners or something like that. That'd be nuts, because then Paul Thomas Anderson would lose again, but it would be pretty appreciative that like Coogler won it. It'd be interesting. But do I want to give Best Director to somebody who like shot an action film, doesn't want know how to do action? Eh, I don't think so. Um, they'll probably give him screenplay. Now, I thought it would be too early for a rewatch, but it was terrifying this time. The Thing, 1982. Annoyingly, the 4K was poorly printed, so we had to switch to the Blu-ray, and it did not look as good. And annoyingly, it's just the discs, they're not pressed well, they don't work well. There was rippling on it. Ugh. And then, worst of all, I got into a conversation, fight, debate with my friend on like Jordan Peterson and who's that guy that got shot that nobody knew about until he died, and then everybody pretended they knew who he was. Um, I'm seriously blanking on him now. I can picture his face. Uh, wow. You see things like this where I think maybe I would have remembered before, and I don't now. Charlie Kirk. That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's just who cares about a guy who would go to universities and I wouldn't say start fights, start debates and stuff like that, but prove me wrong. If you ask me, he got not what he deserved, but what he wanted, because nobody gets deserved to be shot in the face. He got what he wanted. He became a martyr and point for a cause, and he was used as a political football. And now, how many months later since his death, it feels like not enough people remember his. Uh, you know, um, let's see, he died in, and the weird thing was to me is that he was younger than me. I don't know. And he was killed by somebody younger than me. But yeah, he yeah, is it's just some born and raised and dead after that. Yeah, and his wife is actually like way older than him, which is kind of surprising, I guess, a bit. I mean, only 5 years, but still. Anyways, we got into a debate about him, and he was legitimately like, "Oh, I'm interested in this," and I'm just kind of like, "I don't like him because it doesn't seem like he stood for equality there and there." And then he was like, "Well, I disagree that that's what he was saying," and that was it. We just could not find common ground on we couldn't even agree on who we're talking about, in the sense that like we were both shown like different things. He's like that you're just talking about what was shown on your algorithm, and I would say that's why your algorithm was different than mine. So that's just how it came and went. And then we missed the ending of the thing. He's like, I don't care. It's like, yeah, we watched it like 2 years ago, and um that viewing too was compromised because we watched it on DVD, and it Like, we had to watch it on an Xbox One, and if you ever put a DVD on an Xbox One, it plays at native resolution. So, like 720 by 480 or 480 by 360. And so it takes up like a quarter of the screen in the middle. It's not formatted to fit the screen. So that was very irritating. And so it's like, well, we get to watch it on 4K this time. And then it goes well for about 40 minutes. And then there's a major desynchronization between the audio and the video. And then it starts stuttering. And it's like, why can't I watch the good version of this film that I watched on DVD when I was a kid? Even when I watched with that same DVD, the showing was compromised. But anyways, switch to Blu-ray. It was whatever. Punch Drunk Love, 4 stars. I have seen this before. Why is it not? Yeah, I know I reviewed it. Why is it not letting me? Oh, edit or delete the review. Yeah, I already included that. Okay, yeah. No one knows what it's like to be the Sandman, to be the sad man. Yeah, nice little movie. The direction informs the movie. The images, costuming, all of it informs a very small story, but it's a nice little story. Um, and then I don't watch another movie until December 27th, and it's Wake Up Dead Man. 2 stars. It's raining and it's pouring. Daniel Craig is snoring because this film is boring. It's nice that 2 people like this review, though. That's more than I usually get. Um, Daniel Craig is like not in this movie a whole lot. It's mainly on Josh O'Connor, and it feels phoned in. Gosh knows how much he got paid for this movie, and I guess good for him because it was like 450 million for 2 movies, which is insane to me. Like that's like 225 million per movie for like an Agatha Christie novel of like a bunch of famous people standing around in a room talking. And yeah, the first Knives Out was interesting. This one, at least in the trailer, looked visually different, but yeah, I haven't liked the sequels at all. They're just cash-ins. The last movie I watched before I moved out of my temporary sister's place was Regretting You, and I gave that movie 2.5 stars. This was the first movie I watched this year, and I didn't regret this viewing. Based on a Colleen Hoover novel. Everyone in this film seems so poorly cast, and Josh Boone's direction is quite lacking, but the central story is solid soap opera material. It's basically about a couple who was having an affair who die um, while having an affair, and they're part of a group of 4 friends, and the other 2 friends who maybe like each other, maybe don't, kind of sort through their feelings about the dead couple. Um, he was with, the girl, she was with the guy. They die and they discover that they were having an affair, and meanwhile, the 15-year-old daughter of the girl who survived is, doing teenage stuff. And it's kind of boring, but and it's also weird that Allison Williams and Dave Franco are like old enough to play full-blown parents to like 15-year-olds. Not because like the age, like they're the right age on paper, but they don't seem like people who would have kids that old, and I don't think they do in real life. Maybe they have like single digit kids or something like that, or maybe like I don't even think Dave Franco and Allison Brie have kids. Can I let me see here if I even look it up. So, I mean, she's 43, da da da, but she doesn't. Does she have kids? No, she doesn't. And then does Allison Williams? I don't think so. So again, it's just weird. Um, no. Okay, now I have to go to Get Out because her name is so generic. Okay, there we go. This is Allison Williams with 1 L. No, it's 2 L's. She's married and has 1 child, so when were they born? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. whatever, in late 2021. So yeah, so she has a 4-year-old. Yeah. So again, not believable that she has a 15-year-old. Again, terrible casting, but like they do the best. Like everybody in this movie cares. So it makes you care a bit. And, it's not something you usually see. But anyways, so bad choices are made from how the film is lit and dressed to how clumsy they try and tie in Paramount products. One of the things somebody pointed out about this movie is that the guy who's going to film school, played by Mason Thames in this movie, and it's, a Paramount movie, has like posters on his wall. And it's like, growing up on in Dawson's Creek and stuff, he would have like a Jurassic Park poster. Everyone had that, or Close Encounters, or there were those famous posters, but we're not really in that era anymore. To me, and I've thought about this a lot, what would the Paramount movies be that a kid growing up who cared about movies in a movie sense putting posters on as well, which I'm not sure. Maybe they do in, like I did in university. Um, what would be the equivalent of that today? And to me, it's obvious. It would be Interstellar and A Quiet Place and Arrival. Those are like the three clear Paramount movies of the last 10 years that people would look into. But yeah, didn't choose that. So that was January 1st. And then I did not watch another movie until 28 years later, The Bone Temple. And that was 14 days. So it's like my first movie in 2 weeks. Isn't that crazy? I'm not watching as many movies. This is Film Gamer. I wrote 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, which I was really looking forward to. Is a movie about two people who survive 28 years in a zombie-infected wasteland and have elaborate plans for everything except getting stabbed in the ribs by people they know want to kill them. Kind of dumb. But, you know, it, you know, uh, intellectually, handsomely mounted, that kind of thing. Um, yeah. Uh, oh, he gave 4 stars to American Fiction. How about that? My brother. Um, he said about sentimental value of J. Kelly was made by grown-ups. There we go, because I've thought about that a lot. Um, yeah, Stam, half a star. Quite possibly the worst film ever made. One of the most offensive displays of shameless Hollywood indulgence and exploitation by the worst ever to do it, Sean Penn. At least this inspired Simple Jack. True that. Yeah. Um, anyways, what other recent reviews can we follow by Nick Hume? Um, by Adelaide I'd kick you. Yellow iPhone wallpaper. Yes. Good fortune. 1 star. Aziz is insufferable. Tron Ares. They're in the computer. He did see Tron Ares, eh? Yeah, I wanted to see that. Um, yeah. What a typical day is like in America. Eddington. Anyways, so yes, that is my podcast for this episode. And thanks for watching. I'll see you. I'll have a much better setup. I'll have better lighting and all that. And yeah, see you in the next season when I have more to share.